And we are joined here with a very special guest. I am pleased to have him here with me. He's a two-time Grammy-nominated artist and recently released his 13th album, Lost and Found. And it's a pleasure to have you here, Raul Midón. How you doing?
Thank you. Very good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know we were talking just a few minutes ago, but how are you? I know you're in your home studio right now, cooking up some great music.
Yeah, I sort of believe in continuously working. So I just put out my newest album, Lost and Found. But yeah, I'm working on this thing, and we're touring the album. We're going to be in some cities in the States, and then we're going to Europe in November, and hopefully Asia as well. So that's what's going on. Um, yeah.
Very exciting, very exciting. So great to hear that you are still out there, still creating music and still doing your thing, man. Um, Now you've got tons of albums out there. With your latest project that you've released, Lost and Found, what makes this album so special to you?
Um, well, one thing is that it's the latest. It's always, but I think as a songwriter, I'm always looking to write different kinds of songs and go a little deeper. It's song form is kind of an interesting thing because one can fall into cliches, and there's actually something to be said for that. But you know, um, the more songs you write, the more sort of dimensionality you have to put into it. So um, I have some songs on there that are a little bit more quirky, a little different. I have a song called Anything at All, and I have a song called Ocean of Doubt on there. Um, and I have some more sort of traditional songs like Going Away, sort of a traditional, AABA pop song form. So yeah, it's just sort of the journey of songwriting, really.
Now, when you were creating your album, Lost and Found, do you have a specific favorite song that you like recording?
Um, uh, I sort of like recording anything at all because it's all percussion. It's kind of a quirky song, and I sort of got into some philosophy, and I really enjoyed recording that song.
Okay. Now, I've heard the album as well, and one of my favorite songs off of the album is Next Time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a lot of fun. I co-wrote that one with Mike Errico, who actually has a book out on songwriting that's published. Um, he's a wonderful writer, and really had fun writing that song. It's almost like kind of a really kind of a folk thing in a way, but with some I guess different chords in the bridge that a folk musician probably wouldn't play. But otherwise, it's a folk song. The
Now,
bridge has some sort of jazz harmony and stuff in it. You know.
yeah, I mean, it's a great album. I love it, and I hope that everybody checks it out on all streaming platforms, and hope that everybody gets a chance to listen to it because it's such a great album, as I mentioned.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So, in your career, I mean, you've been influenced by a lot of music, whether it's soul music, blues, jazz, and Latin American music, to name a few. Um, what does it mean to you to be inspired by those genres?
It's always been about the music that I love for me. So I've never really thought in genre. So I love the rhythmic dynamism of Latin music. I love the harmonic vocabulary of jazz. I love the storytelling in songwriters like Joni Mitchell and James Taylor and Prince, and I like, so I just put all those things into the music. So I think it's just a question of being open to all kinds of music.
Now, for you, the age of four, your dad introduced you to the drums, and then
Yeah.
you later discovered a passion for guitar. Um, Now, instruments have such a great profound on just being able to create and being able to develop. Now, for you, what can you say about instruments that are such valuable assets in your career?
I mean, I think if I understand the question, um, for me, it's important to be able to play and sing, and it's really great for being a songwriter, because it gives you a deeper understanding of how music goes with lyrics, playing an instrument. If that was the question you were asking, is
Ye-
that?
yes, yes, most definitely. Yeah, that answers it. That answers it for sure.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of classical music, of big band music. All the possibilities of arranging and stuff. I did an album with Vince Mendoza called "If You Really Want" with the Metropole. That was one of the Grammy-nominated albums I did, and it was a lot of fun working with all those, you know, different instruments, different timbres, and seeing how a master arranges, the instruments.
Now, in the latter years of your career, you were a session singer for Shakira, Julio Iglesias, Jose Feliciano. Um, in the early start of your career, you've had tons of experiences. I mean, besides those that I mentioned to you, just what has that meant to you? And is there anything memorable that sticks out to you the most?
Um, well, what it's meant is learning the skills of communicating with other musicians in the studio, learning how to sing in different ways. When you're a session singer, you have to sing in all different kinds of styles. Probably the session that sticks out to me the most is the possibility session that I did with Herbie Hancock. That was just an amazing session. It made me stretch out and to the edges of my ability in terms of how high I had to sing, and it's but it really stood out to me. And of course, I'm working with somebody that is a living legend, so that was pretty cool.
So absolutely. I mean, you've been on NPR's Tiny Desk. You've been on Jennifer Hudson's show. I mean, you've done so many great things in your career. It's just remarkable on just the success that you've had and um, just the ability to be able to just do what you're doing. It's just special. Definitely special, you
I
know.
mean, I think I'm lucky to be doing what I want to do. It's a lot of responsibility, I have to say. It's a it can be a very stressful profession because it's also very fickle. You know, so you know you could, when you first start out, you get the big push, you get on all the TV shows, and then you sort of find yourself kind of like playing clubs, again, and it's kind of like, well, it's the ups and downs of the business. It's very difficult to stay, or at least for me, it can be difficult to stay focused and positive, when the music is so fickle. The business is very strange these days because of, it's just, we're in a revolution, in terms of, people being able to download music for free, and, it being so video centric. There's a lot of things about the music business that make it really difficult for the creator. It's an absolute paradise for the consumer, because you can literally, I mean, you can tell your voice assistant to play any song, anywhere, anytime, from any album. It's crazy. But for the creator, because there's so much, and because it's so accessible, so easily accessible, it's tough to stay in the game,
You mentioned just the keys to your success in the music industry. And I kind of want to continue on that subject now that we're talking about that. With the success in your career, is there anything that you wish you would have known? And if your career wasn't in music, what do you think you would have been able to pursue?
Um, is there? Yeah, there's a lot of things I wish I would have known. That's interesting. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the thing that I knew, the essential thing, was that I had to be myself in the music business. That I wasn't going to, I wasn't going to be fulfilled or happy doing something that I thought other people wanted me to do. I guess in some ways, I wish I would have started on my artistic career a little earlier. I was a musician for hire for years. I wasn't really pursuing my music as a recording artist. So I was kind of, a little older when I finally got into the game of being an artist, And the travel and everything, it's definitely a young man's game. You're on planes, you're on trains, you're doing shows in a row in different countries, and that sort of thing. And it can be pretty difficult.
Okay. 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 Now, um, now back in 2018, with the help of Dancing Dots and Cakewalk, they've designed technology for the blind, and they also came up with a home studio, which you're at right now, which allows you to produce music from home without the need of an engineer. I must say though, you're in a nice home studio. I mean, it's brilliant. Um, and I like the fact that Dancing Dots and Cakewalk was able to build a studio, for the blind, and you're able to create music without an engineer.
Yeah,
However,
that actually, I'm using another software now called Samplitude. They Cakewalk sold Sonar, and it's another piece of software now, and the accessibility is not there anymore. So I'm now using a digital audio workstation called Samplitude, which is Magic's, the company Magic's. Basically, it's like Logic or Pro Tools or any of them. They all kind of do the same thing. But yeah, I am now using Samplitude, and it's the same concept. The computer talks to you. You use a screen reader. You use key combinations to tell you sort of the things that you need to know when you're recording levels, the level of your plugins, whether it's reverb or compression or whatever. You're editing what bar, what beat you're on, or if you have it set for minutes and seconds, whatever, however you have it set. I have mine for bars and beats. So, essentially, using what's called a screen reader. Now, all Mac and Windows computers have screen readers built in. So on Mac, it's called VoiceOver, and on Windows, it's called Narrator. And a certain key combinations will bring up Narrator if you have a Windows computer. Doesn't matter. It used to be that the software to make the computer talk was something you had to buy. It was a third party piece of software, which I still use that just because I'm used to it. But now Windows has built in a screen reader, which is really good. It's wonderful, to give anybody that buys a computer that is blind access to, using the computer. The software for recording requires yet another layer of work that somebody has to do to create what's called scripts so that the key combinations do what you would normally do with a mouse. So you go through the bars with arrow keys, for example, and different key combinations get you into different parts of the program if you want to edit audio or if you want to change the plugin or whatever it is that you're doing.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I know you're comfortable uh, in that setting of being able to be at home and be able to create. But for you, I mean, would you rather prefer an engineer working alongside you, or you just rather
It
just do it?
depends. If you're working with a lot of people and you have a lot of mixes, yeah, absolutely. I don't want to do all those headphone mixes. If I'm working by myself, I can handle that, or even with one other person. But if it's like a live band or something, absolutely, I would definitely definitely get an engineer. And I use an engineer for mixing still. Michael O'Reilly, I've been working with for years and years, and I use him to mix the albums.
Now, in your career, what are ways that you continue to elevate and stay on top of things when it comes to music?
Well, I mean, part of it is listening, and just working. Music is a kind of a merciless, relentless mistress. If you don't do it even for a little while, you start to lose your sharpness. So, and I think the creative voice is something that has to be nurtured. You have to put your butt in a chair every day and say, I'm going to work on something creative. And some days you get a couple of lines. Some days you get nothing, but you have to always put that time, make that time to stay creative.
Right. And as you mentioned, that's just that all comes with just how passionate you are in this industry, and the love that you have for the game of music.
Yeah, I mean, I love the music. I don't love the game so much, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But I love music, and I'm lucky enough to be able to do it full time. And that's, in and of itself a difficult thing to do these days, mostly because, you know, and it's, I don't know how we solve this, but music is free now, which is not great if you're trying to make a living. If that's what you're selling, that's not a good business, you
Right.
know, to
Mhm.
be putting all this time and hours and hours and hours of work, and then people get it for nothing.
Right.
It's, that's the world we live in.
Hmm. Yeah, times have changed. Times have changed throughout the years. Yeah, especially for you because you've been involved in music for quite some time. It's just like the involvement and just how things have changed throughout the years.
I
It's
mean, I
quite
think the positive side of it is that it's so much easier to set up a studio that is, that you can do professional level work in. You know, it's so much more financially possible. But the bad side of it is that it's free and there's, you know, so much out there. So, you know, in the old days, you were competing with whatever else was out there that was new. Now you're competing with everything that's ever been recorded. Every Beatles album, every, you know, whatever you want to say, every Paul Simon album, you know, a listener, a consumer can choose what they want to listen to. And when they have the choice of everything that's ever been recorded, you know, them choosing some new artist can be a challenge, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, because, you know, you have followers or you're following that, you know, tends to your music and listens to your music. And would you say that you're happy with your reach of following in your career with music?
I don't know if I'd say that,
Okay.
but I think I think I'm happy that I'm, you know, that I'm this far along and that I'm still doing it and that, you know, I've been able to find a way to do it. I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say that I wished I had a bigger audience. Of course I do. You know, bigger audience means more tickets, more money, more better fees, better hotels, you know. I mean, that's just the fact. At the same time, you know, I always have to remember that I chose to do things my way and have managed to do that. And so I have to accept what that means, you know. I am completely and totally independent. I don't have anybody telling me what to do. So, yeah, I have created a life in which I have lots of freedom and lots of responsibility.
That's brilliant, man. That's brilliant. And with your career in the future, what can we expect? You know, what are you working on as far as just for things that you want in your career, and as far as a legacy that you want to get back?
Um, I don't know about the legacy, but there's a couple of projects. You know, I have. I'm thinking about doing a 20th anniversary album of State of Mind, which was my first major label album. I'm thinking about doing some sort of project of that, and I have an idea for a folkloric Argentine, an album of music that is influenced by the first music that I listened to as a kid, which was Argentine folk music. It's a very specific kind of rhythm and instrumentation, and writing songs with those elements. Also, I'm working on a book as well. So those are the things that are, you know, in the pipeline, so to speak.
Amazing. And in your career, who are you mostly thankful for?
Who you said?
Yes.
Probably my wife. You know, I I wouldn't have been able to do this without having a real partner. You know, being blind, for instance, and moving to New York City when I did, and you know, having all this set up and having, you know, my studio and just everything. If I were trying to do it alone, I could have never done it, you know. So
Definitely proud of you and your career. It's been a blessing to have been able to interview you and just be able to learn more about you and to learn about your success and your journey and your career. And I just want to say, I appreciate you and I want to give you your flowers. And just
thank
want
you so much.
just
Appreciate
want
that.
yeah, just want to say it's a privilege and honor. And, I'm wishing you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.